Jason sat in the corner of his dimly lit apartment, the late evening shadows creeping across the walls like silent spectators to his thoughts. The world outside his window was bustling, voices echoing from the street below, cars honking, laughter ringing out from groups of friends heading out for the night. But inside, the stillness of his solitude was almost deafening. In his lap lay a small, inconspicuous box. It wasn't remarkable by any means, plain brown with a modest bow, but it held a power Jason couldn't yet comprehend. A gift from his best friend, Sophie. The box had been waiting for him to muster the courage to open it for 2 days. Her accompanying note had been cryptic yet encouraging. Inside is a part of you that's been waiting to be seen. Trust me, you'll understand when you open it. Jason sighed, the weight of his curiosity battling with the fear of the unknown. He'd never been one to explore the parts of himself he didn't understand. But Sophie, she had a way of seeing through his carefully constructed walls, gently pushing him toward truths he wasn't ready to admit even to himself. With trembling hands, he untied the bow and opened the box. Inside, nestled carefully among layers of tissue paper, was a stunning lavender dress. The fabric shimmered faintly under the dim light, soft and inviting. Beside it were a pair of nude heels, a set of makeup essentials, and a note, for the nights you want to feel free. The mirror is your ally. Trust it. Jason's heart raced. The simple act of touching the dress felt like crossing a threshold he wasn't sure he could return from. He had never openly acknowledged the pull he felt toward femininity. It had always been a quiet hum in the background of his life, buried beneath the expectations of masculinity he had been taught to uphold. But now, holding this gift, that hum grew into a symphony, demanding to be heard. He glanced at his reflection in the full-length mirror by the closet. His usual self stared back, a 32-year-old man with a neatly trimmed beard, tired eyes, and a physique that spoke of years spent conforming to gym culture. Jason had worked hard to fit the mold, but that mold had never truly fit him. The dress seemed to glow in his hands, as if urging him to take the leap. He closed his eyes, inhaled deeply, and made a decision. An hour later, Jason stood in front of the mirror, transformed. The lavender dress hugged his form in ways that felt oddly comforting. He had managed, with some trial and error, to apply the makeup from Sophie's kit, a soft, natural look with a hint of shimmer. His wig, a shoulder-length cascade of auburn curls, framed his face delicately. The nude heels gave him a poise he hadn't felt in years. For the first time in his life, Jason didn't feel like he was staring at a stranger in the mirror. He felt right. He twirled, the dress flowing around him, and a giggle escaped his lips, unbidden but entirely sincere. He hadn't giggled like that since he was a child. But just as quickly as the joy came, doubt crept in. What am I doing? He thought. What if someone sees me like this? What if they laugh? Before the spiral of self-criticism could deepen, his phone buzzed. It was Sophie. Hey, Jay. How's my favorite human tonight? Jason hesitated before replying. I opened the box. The 3 little dots indicating Sophie was typing popped up almost immediately. And Jason glanced at his reflection again. Despite the lingering doubts, a small smile tugged at the corners of his lips. And I think I understand what you meant. I feel different. Lighter. Sophie's response was instant. You're beautiful, Jay. I've always known it. Now you just get to see it too. Over the next few weeks, Jason found himself returning to the lavender dress more often than he had anticipated. At first, it was in stolen moments, late at night when the world was asleep, and he felt safe in his solitude. But gradually, those moments stretched longer, until he found himself spending entire evenings embracing this new side of himself. It wasn't just the clothes or the makeup, it was the freedom they represented. For the first time, Jason was allowing himself to step outside the rigid box he had lived in for so long. He began experimenting, building a small wardrobe of dresses, skirts, and blouses. He learned to apply makeup with increasing skill, watching tutorials late into the night. He even gave himself a name for this side of his identity, Jasmine. Jasmine was everything Jason had always suppressed, graceful, expressive, unapologetically herself. But the world outside his apartment was still Jason's, and stepping into it as Jasmine felt like an impossible dream. Sophie, ever perceptive, noticed the shift in her friend before Jason could even articulate it. Over dinner one Friday night, she broached the subject. "You've been glowing lately," she said, her tone light but probing. "Care to share why?" Jason hesitated, but he knew Sophie wouldn't judge him. She never had. I think I've discovered something about myself," he began, his voice shaky but resolute. "Or maybe it's more like rediscovering. It's hard to explain." Sophie reached across the table, squeezing his hand gently. "Take your time." "I've been exploring femininity," he admitted. "Not just as an idea, but as something I want to embrace. It feels right. More right than anything else I've ever done." Sophie's face lit up with a smile so warm it could have melted glaciers. "Jason, that's amazing." "Or should I say Jasmine?" Jason's eyes widened. "How did you?" "I know you, Jay. I've always seen this in you, even when you couldn't see it yourself. And I am so proud of you for finally letting it out." Her unwavering support brought tears to Jason's eyes. Sophie, true to her nature, was determined to help Jasmine step into the world. "We're going out," she declared one evening. Jason balked. "Out? Like out? "Yes, out," Sophie said firmly. "There's a LGBTQ+ lounge downtown. It's the perfect place for Jasmine to make her debut." The thought terrified Jason, but it also excited him. On the night of their outing, Jason transformed into Jasmine with a mixture of exhilaration and nerves. Sophie was there every step of the way, helping her perfect her look, a chic black dress with lace detailing, bold red lipstick, and a pair of silver heels that made her feel like she was walking on air. When they arrived at the lounge, Jasmine's heart pounded in her chest. The vibrant atmosphere was a sensory overload: laughter, music, and the kaleidoscope of people living their truths boldly and unapologetically. To her surprise, Jasmine wasn't met with judgment or ridicule. Instead, she was embraced literally and figuratively. Strangers complimented her outfit, danced with her, and shared their own stories of self-discovery. For the first time, Jasmine felt seen. The night marked a turning point. Jasmine began to integrate into Jason's life in ways that felt natural. She wasn't a secret or a hidden persona. She was a part of him, as vital and real as any other aspect of his identity. Through Jasmine, Jason discovered a strength he never knew he had: the strength to live authentically. And in doing so, he found a joy he had spent his whole life searching for. The gift of femininity wasn't just a gift from Sophie. It was a gift Jason had always carried within himself, waiting for the right moment to bloom. Jasmine's first night out at the lounge was like stepping into a new universe, one where the rules she had lived by all her life no longer applied. It wasn't just the space or the people, it was the feeling of freedom that intoxicated her. That night, as Sophie drove them home, the silence between them was charged with unspoken emotions. Jasmine, still wearing her black dress, sat with her hands clasped tightly in her lap, the smooth texture of the fabric grounding her. "What are you thinking about?" Sophie asked, breaking the silence. Jasmine hesitated, her voice soft but resolute. "That I've been hiding for so long. And I didn't even know what I was hiding from until now." Sophie smiled, keeping her eyes on the road. "That's the thing about self-discovery. It's like uncovering a treasure you didn't even know you had. And the best part? You're just getting started." Jasmine stared out the window as the city lights blurred into a kaleidoscope of color. For the first time in years, she felt like she was moving towards something, rather than running from it. Over the weeks that followed, Jasmine began carving out space for herself in Jason's life. It started small, choosing her outfits for quiet evenings at home, practicing her makeup techniques with increasing finesse, and occasionally venturing out to the corner store when she felt brave enough. But with each step forward, she encountered new challenges. One evening, as Jasmine sat on the couch scrolling through photos of her recent outings, she was startled by a knock at the door. Panicking, she scrambled to remove her wig and makeup, fumbling with the zipper of her dress before giving up and throwing on a hoodie to cover herself. When she opened the door, it was her neighbor, Tom, holding a package. "Hey, Jason," Tom said with his usual friendly grin. "The delivery guy dropped this at my place by mistake." "Thanks," Jasmine mumbled, her voice barely audible. Tom raised an eyebrow, his gaze lingering on her for a moment too long. "You okay? You look different." Jasmine's heart raced. "Yeah, just tired," she said, forcing a laugh. Tom shrugged. "Well, have a good night." As soon as the door closed, Jasmine sank onto the couch, her hands shaking. The encounter was a stark reminder of the risk she was taking by stepping into her true self. The world wasn't always kind to those who didn't conform to its expectations. Sophie, ever the cheerleader, encouraged Jasmine to embrace these challenges rather than retreat from them. "You can't control how people react," she said one evening over coffee. "But you can control how you let it affect you. And honestly, Jay, you're stronger than you think." Jasmine nodded, sipping her latte. "It's just the fear. It's like a shadow that follows me everywhere. And yet you're still here," Sophie said with a smile. "Still showing up for yourself. That's courage." The next big step came when Jasmine decided to attend a local support group for people exploring their gender identity. Held in a cozy community center, the group was a safe space for individuals to share their journeys, struggles, and triumphs. Jasmine's palms were sweaty as she walked into the room, her heels clicking softly against the floor. She was greeted by a diverse group of people, each with their own unique expression of self. "Welcome," said a kind-looking woman with short, silver hair. "I'm Lila, the facilitator." "You must be Jasmine." Jasmine nodded, her nerves making her voice catch in her throat. "Yes, thank you for having me." As the meeting progressed, Jasmine listened intently to the stories shared by the group. Some spoke of rejection and heartbreak, while others shared moments of joy and triumph. For the first time, Jasmine realized she wasn't alone. When it was her turn to speak, she hesitated, the weight of her story pressing down on her. But then she looked at the faces around her, warm, encouraging, understanding, and found the strength to begin. "I've spent most of my life feeling like I didn't quite fit," she said, her voice trembling. "Like I was wearing a costume that didn't belong to me. But recently, I've started to see myself in a way I never have before. And it's terrifying, but it's also the most freeing thing I've ever experienced." The group responded with gentle nods and murmurs of encouragement, and for the first time, Jasmine felt the power of being seen and heard. As Jasmine continued to grow into herself, she began to notice how this transformation was impacting other areas of her life. Her work as a graphic designer, once a source of stress and monotony, became an outlet for her newfound creativity. She started incorporating bold, expressive designs into her projects, earning praise from clients and colleagues alike. Even her relationships began to shift. Friends who had only known Jason were now meeting Jasmine, and while some struggled to understand, others embraced her wholeheartedly. One evening, Jasmine received a message from an old college friend, Leah. "Hey, I saw your photo on Sophie's Instagram. I just want to say how proud I am of you. Let's catch up soon." The message brought tears to Jasmine's eyes. For so long, she had feared losing the people she cared about if they ever saw this side of her. But now, she was learning that authenticity had a way of drawing the right people closer. Not everything was smooth sailing. There were moments of doubt, of fear, of encountering the harsh realities of a world that wasn't always accepting. One particularly difficult moment came when Jasmine decided to visit her parents. They had always been loving and supportive, but they were also deeply traditional. Jason had been the picture of the son they'd expected, stoic, dependable, and by all outward appearances, thoroughly masculine. Jasmine agonized over how to tell them about her journey. In the end, she decided to start small. She arrived at their house wearing a pair of fitted jeans and a soft, floral blouse, her makeup subtle but present. Her mother noticed immediately. "You look different," she said, her tone cautious but not unkind. Jasmine took a deep breath. "I've been exploring something about myself," she said. "And I want to share it with you, because it's important to me." Her father, ever the quiet observer, set down his newspaper and gave her his full attention. As Jasmine explained her journey, her parents listened intently. Her mother's eyes filled with tears, and her father's brow furrowed in thought. When she finished, the silence was deafening. Finally, her mother spoke. "I don't fully understand this, sweetheart," she said. "But I love you, and I always will." Her father nodded slowly. "It'll take some time for me to wrap my head around this," he admitted. "But I'm proud of you for being honest with us." The months turned into a year, and Jasmine's life blossomed in ways she never could have imagined. She found herself stepping into new roles: mentor, advocate, and most importantly, her own best friend. One evening, as she prepared for another outing with Sophie, she caught her reflection in the mirror. She no longer saw the hesitant, uncertain person she once was. Instead, she saw a woman who had fought to claim her place in the world, a woman who had discovered the gift of femininity within herself and embraced it fully. Jasmine smiled, the weight of her journey etched into her gaze, but no longer holding her down. "Readies?" Sophie called from the living room. Jasmine grabbed her purse, her heels clicking confidently against the floor as she joined her friend. "Ready," she said, and for the first time, she truly meant it. The world outside was waiting, and Jasmine was more than ready to meet it. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.